I have two short course trucks here. I have a Traxxas Slash two-wheel drive with a brush system, and I have a Team Associated, which is a brushless, sensorless system. Out of the box, this one generally comes with a high CG, so it's the high center of gravity chassis. This one does have an LCG. There was a period in time where Traxxas did offer an LCG out of the box, which was the black chassis. Now they do not on the Slash two-wheel drive, but they do use that black chassis LCG on the Drag Slash. So that's something to keep a note of. You can still buy the black one instead of the blue one if you prefer that. Now, we have the two vehicles here. If you plan on getting into the hobby and you're considering a short course two-wheel drive, it's all going to depend on what your budget is. As of this video, this truck is about $230. That truck is about $340. So $230, $340. So that's $110 more. And that's going to be one of the starting differences between it. Keep in mind that you still need to get a battery and charger. Depending on the battery and charger that you get, that's going to affect the price. So you could be spending $50 on something that's a little too cheap. I probably wouldn't recommend that. But a normal basic one battery charger is probably about $50. Decent battery, you're looking at $35 or more. Say another $50. Let's just say another $100 on that. So it's first you have to set your budget. If you're getting into RC or maybe short course for the very first time, you don't want to spend much. If your budget is $300, you're not going to be buying the Team Associated Pro2 because that one's already over your budget. If you're looking at $350, now keep in mind I'm not talking about tax, do not include tax. I'm not including it for the purpose of this. So $350, that one's in your budget now, except for the batteries and chargers. If you have a battery and charger, then you're good to go there. $350, you can get either. So it really all depends. Now, assuming you are brand new to the hobby and you've set aside $100 for a battery and charger, and you set aside $350 for any RC, short course truck, well, then you can get both of these. So is that one worth $110 more out of the box? Yes, it is. That is the better truck, and it's the better truck for a variety of reasons. Now this one is very tunable. I do have another truck that has the Proline Turatrax or ProTrack kit. I forget the name of it. And it runs great, very strong. Haven't broken any components yet as far as the arms, things like that. But doing all those upgrades will increase the cost. And it all depends on the purpose. Are you planning on bashing or are you planning on racing? If you're planning on racing, are you planning on racing loose dirt, oval, for example, clay, carpet, high grip? If you're planning on doing, for example, clay or some high grip, you probably should not be looking at either one of these. Off-road, all right, we've got something here, but that one's going to be the better truck. Now, why is that one better out of the box? Well, let me just talk about the Slash first. Now, the Slash, I've had many. My nephews, I gave some to them a long time ago. But if you look at the shocks, these are plastic body shocks, really basic, very small bore, very little oil fits in there. And you have plastic caps, so it's plastic on plastic. As you start taking jumps, or if you take hard impacts on the suspension, these caps are going to pop off. After they pop off, they're going to keep popping off. You can replace them with the aluminum ones. They're maybe $15 for a set of 4 as of this video, but then you're going to start bending the shafts. So you're going to have to replace the shocks at some point. My recommendation would be the GTRs, GTR long, GTR XX long for the rear, but with springs, everything, you're looking at about $90, $95 as of the time of this video. That's including tax here in this area. Now, if we look at this part of the vehicle, These caster blocks right in here, these are actually quite weak. They're very flexible, so sometimes in high impacts they will bend. And this pin right here, that kingpin right in there, will bend about halfway, and it'll damage the steering knuckle. This right here. So then you have to replace that pin, the steering knuckle. Another thing, sometimes this little ear here for the steering knuckle will just tear off. Do not get the RPM ones, they tear off just as easily. Just get the aluminum ones. But again, you're just adding to the cost. Now keep in mind that if it's little upgrades, maybe your budget right now is $300, $350. Let's stick with the $350. With the option to upgrade over time, assuming you like the hobby, then go for it, right? Let's just say you don't like it after a year, you can always just give it away. You're not going to be that deep in compared to that one over there. This is a brush system. The speed difference isn't really that much. But that one you can eventually plug in 3S and it will be faster. That's if you want to do that. I don't really care for 3S, to be honest. But those are some of the main differences. The other thing too is if we look at the shock towers, these are quite flexible. So again, it depends on what you intend to use this for. Now, if you do get the ProTrack kit, that's about $70 as of the time of this video. It's much nicer components. You get far better shock towers, you get better arms, turnbuckles are also replaced. But now you have to add that to the cost. So that would bring up the price of this vehicle to $300 versus that one, $40 more. That one you get nicer electronics, you get nicer shocks. That's really it. Let's look at the shocks. The shocks, we have aluminum with plastic caps. They're not really going to pop off. It would be very difficult for these to pop off. Now, these have higher oil capacity just because, well, they do taper down to about the same diameter as the Slash, but up here, this whole section is wider. So there's a little bit more oil. And that's an advantage because you already have the better shocks. Now, the GTR shocks that you can get for the Slash are far better than these. They're even a larger bore. They're just better, more oil capacity, stronger, etc., especially for jumps. These here, you do get the smaller fiber arms. Now, these are strong arms. They're not really the bashing arms. You will break these. Actually, the first thing that will break is that bulkhead right here. That's the weak point. You'll probably break that depending on how you hit. This metal plate in front is reinforced, but you will still, you can still break that. They do make a steel one. The steel one is probably about $40, $30, $40. I cannot remember as of this video. If we look inside, the caster block is a lot nicer on this one. Now the steering knuckle is also reinforced, a little nicer than the Slash. But again, if you upgrade the Slash to aluminum, well, that kind of beats this one out of the water. It just depends really on how much you want to spend. Set a budget aside and then decide. If you want $350, the best you can get for that, this is a better package overall. Oh, another thing. Slash is mine. This is my buddy's. Do follow my buddy on Instagram at RodsReelsRCs. He's got some really cool reels on there. So this is a better truck out of the box just because of the components. It has better suspension geometry. It has better shocks out of the box. Look at the shock towers. They're much stronger. That's the rear. That's the front. See, they're not flimsy and flexible like the other ones. But again, if you upgrade to the Proline version, they're way better. So those are things to consider. Now, something else to consider why this one's also a very nice vehicle is this. The Slash is simply big heavy cow. I mean, it's a hog. We're looking at 1,949 grams versus 1,751 grams. It's almost a 200 gram difference. It's about a 200 gram difference. Now, I mean, I guess I could take some of that foam off and that may make the difference. But that is also something else to consider. That is less weight that the vehicle, drivetrain, everything has to kind of carry and deal with. So again, this comparison is for out of the box. Which one should you get? It depends on your budget. If you've already set aside money for battery and charger and it's $350, the Associated is your better buy. If your budget is $300, well, that's not even in the picture. Don't even bother looking at that unless you just want to drool over it. You'd be looking at the Slash. Now for $350, yes, you can get the Slash with some upgrades. Now here's one of the advantages though, big advantage of the Slash. If you decide to ever go on a track, many tracks have a spec Slash class and you could use this. So with that $350, you could pay $230 for this. Now you have $110 left, $40 for the chassis. You have $70 left. And then the $70 you can just keep for parts, anything that you break. At some point, you're gonna need a little more money than that, just because the shocks, the GTRs are going to be more than $70. But that's something you can keep in mind. Now, sometimes if you put together a little bundle deal, let's just say you're buying the battery and charger from the same place, if they have a spec Slash class, sometimes they'll do a bundle deal where they may give you a little discount off the charger or the battery, and that could offset the price difference for the GTR shocks. I would go with the Slash for parts availability and then tuning options later on, just because of what I mentioned. But keep in mind that that's still going to be a much lighter vehicle, because if you do go with the GTRs later on and the Proline upgrades, arms, shock tires, this one's going to get much heavier. You're going to be gaining quite a lot of weight to where the weight difference is now going to be, rather than 200, it'll be closer to 400 grams. Potentially. I'd have to weigh my out of the truck to let you know what it is. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if you're just bashing, who cares about the weight? And the reason why I say that is because the Slash with that ProTrack kit is amazing for bashing. The weak point will actually be your chassis. So the chassis, you will eventually break this lower plate, and this part of the chassis will start to wear out to where your steering will then be kind of loose and wobbly, and then this plate's going to break even easier because of that. So that will be your weak point once you do the upgrades. But all of the abuse that that truck has seen, I mean, I'm not surprised. Versus this one here is not going to be able to take nearly half of the abuse because you're going to start losing arms. So again, purpose. Think of your purpose. Think of a budget. Which one do you want to do? If you're inclined to do a little more racing, this is a far better truck to go with. Lighter weight, more tunability. If you're planning on just having something to get in the hobby, see if you like it, well, this is your better choice. Starts off less expensive and then you can upgrade later on. It's going to turn out to be a far more expensive truck in the end, but you're not going to feel the impact as much because your spending is going to be little by little. You're going to be spending that money over time. And then if you do upgrade to a brushless system, Hobbywig makes a great system, the Easy Run, with a 3660 motor. You can pick up the 4300 kV, or you can even do the 3600 kV. 3200 is fine, but that's too low kV for this truck. Well, no, that would work. You can do that and then just do some 3S if you want to do 3S. But those are some good options. Therefore, again, they are both good trucks in their own right. It just depends on what it is that you're looking for. One truck is not better than the other in every category. So first of all, set a budget. That's number one. After you set the budget, what is your intention? Because once you set the budget, that one might be out of your budget. Keep that in mind. but let's just say they're both still within your budget. What is the purpose? Is your purpose to try to do some racing? Spec class? Well, you can do racing spec on this one, but if you do racing short course, say you enter modified, that one is not really going to be able to hang compared to that one. That one's going to be a better truck all day long in the hands of the same driver, of course. You can get an expert driver driving a Slash will, do donuts around a novice driver with that truck. But that truck will also make you seem like you're a better driver than you are. That's something to keep in mind. Now, when I talk about tunability, I mean shock positions in the front, you have 3 versus Slash only 1. If you look at the rear, you also have 3 positions versus 1. On a Slash, you have 2 on the arms, and you have a few in the rear shocks. Those are some of the differences. Now, if you do get the Proline kit, you're going to get more tuning options from the shock tower linkages, everything else. Again, if you're all right with something that goes, say, 20 miles per hour, either one works. 3S, that one's going to go a lot faster. This one you can go brushless and go a lot faster. I do have some videos where I do speed runs on a stock Slash, so you can check those out. But if you have a small space, 20 miles per hour is really, really fast. And by a small space, I'm referring to something that's about 10 meters by 10 meters, say 30 feet by 30 feet. 20 miles per hour is plenty fast for something that small. Well, I hope this video is helpful in helping you decide which one to get depending on your wants and needs. And please comment below. Subscribe if you have not, and you can comment with some questions, then I can come up with follow-up videos. Or if you've owned them both and you just happen to be watching this video for kicks and giggles, please put some advice, some pros and cons about the vehicles so that people trying to get into the hobby or considering any of these two vehicles can take into consideration as well. Well, once again, have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!